was a hell of a weekend, right?
Live from the Capitol floor.
From Nancy Pelosi's desk.
Yeah, do you remember when she was giving away the pens that she used to sign the impeachment for Trump's first time? They're like, like 1600
For Trump's first time. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
The second time.
No one does impeachments better than Trump. He got two. That's
Listen,
twice as many as the
I
last
had the best
Democrat.
impeachment record. No better impeachments. Beautiful.
Dude, if I was in her office, I would steal that lectern. I wouldn't take pictures with it. I would just take it and I would leave. And it's like you go to that dude's house. Everybody knows that dude that's got that one thing that belongs to somebody very important, and you're like, dude, you have the whatever from the governor's house, and it's like, shh. But yeah, rowdy weekend. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It is the show. I'm Jake.
Drake.
He's laid up Drake, but welcome to the Jake and Drake show. We got a special.
I am on drugs.
Okay.
Medically prescribed drugs for my
the first
NSA
time.
agent listening.
For the first. I'm here with a Twitch streamer named Johnny Bagodonuts, and he gave us a little bit of his free time, and we're gonna pick his brain, and maybe he'll pick our brain, or maybe we'll learn something, and maybe he'll learn something. Who knows? Maybe none of us will learn anything, but we'll definitely get drunker because that's what the fuck I do.
Right there with you, dude.
Yeah. So Johnny, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to say.
I'm just a normal guy, fed up with everything that's going on in the world, No, but really just like I said, Twitch streamer. It's my main hobby. Other than that, just I give my thoughts when asked, so I don't like to impose on people, but there's also things as normal conversation, which I think is dying each day. But other than that, nothing crazy. Just a regular dude.
You mean you're not woke?
Not yet, at least.
So give us a little bit about, like, I guess your background, college, high school, professions-wise, maybe some of the games that you play when you're on Twitch.
Yeah. So high school graduate, didn't go to college. I work in human resources. So I've been working with the same company for like 15 years now, something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think college is a good thing, but also not a necessity. I think a lot of people tend to think it's something you have to do to get by in life, but I've been okay myself. And I think if you're just
you need to get that $10,000 or $100,000 in student loan debt to help fuel our debt empire.
Exactly. I don't know. I think if you just have some common sense in the world, you can get fairly far with everything. But yeah, nothing. I used to be in a band a long time ago. Still mess around musically sometimes, but like I said, my main hobby these days are streaming, mainly a little PUBG. I know you used to do that back in the day there, Mr. Jake, but you've moved on since. I haven't. I'm still holding on to it. So it's my main game, but I'll play a whole bunch of different stuff. So just be holding to it.
All right. So what about your parents? Or your parents college or?
No. Both parents not college. They're still together, but they probably should be divorced. They hate each other. One of those kinds of families. But I think that I got two older brothers. They went to college. One was went for like a writing degree. One was like an art degree. So it's like kind of in two weird directions. One works for a college doing the sports writing for it, and the other one is we're in Buffalo, just being a weirdo hipster, but he's doing all right though. He's good.
Speaking of Buffalo, how about them Bills?
Right? That's what I'm saying. That he sent me a text the other day saying that they're lighting legitimate fireworks off after the playoff win, which I found hilarious. It's like these guys, they'll you know, winning a playoff game is like winning the Super Bowl for them. That's great. It's funny.
And they won 2 of them. So
yeah. Getting ever closer.
I am unbiased when it comes to them. I just hope that Josh Allen does really well, because I know there was an article I saw about I want to say about 4 to 5 weeks ago. There was a guy on ESPN, which I don't even listen to ESPN or watch him anymore, but the guy legitimately said he was rooting against Josh Allen because his fans were basically a bunch of patriots, and I forgot what the other terminology was, but basically it was a black sports reporter saying that he doesn't like Josh Allen, not because he's white, but because his fans are white and Trump supporters or something to that extent. And I was like, that is probably the most ignorant thing I have heard from the sports world in a while, because you know, LeBron James has shut up, so I'm not getting a lot of ignorant stuff. So
the ever-growing culture in the media is to just start lumping everyone together who is seemingly on any degree to the right is lumped into white supremacy, and now you're the worst of the worst. You should be deplatformed and have no access to anything, and silenced. So it just seems to be where everything's.
I think it's our goal to get deplatformed before we get 10 subscribers that aren't our family members.
Dude, I think we're up to 16.
Nice.
I think Johnny hit.
Not counting our family though.
Well, I'm not related to Johnny, and nobody in my family is subscribed to this. So my mom's in a nursing home. She's not watching YouTube. My dad's definitely not subscribing to that channel, and my brother's definitely not. So none of my family, at least my immediate family.
Are they more left leaning?
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Johnny does not listen if he is a subscriber, because
no, he just subscribed. He just subscribed like the other day, bro. Like we were going through like his little YouTube montages. Like he was the master dolphin diver, and we were talking about all sorts of video. We were talking about PUBG. We were talking about Call of Duty. But yeah, he popped a follow. He's on the train.
Yeah, man.
He's about to get like get on the train and then get off the train 2 episodes later. He's like, yo, these guys will fucking get me listed.
Yeah. Oh well, that's fine. That's the route. Then whatever.
So as far as
we already know everything's screwed. So
as far as your ideology or your political journey, so to say, like how were you growing up, or were you always this way? Did you lean one way and then exodus or have an epiphany? Like what would you say made you who you are today, the way you think?
My family, like my household, was definitely like a Democrat family. I'd say my dad more than whatever, but like growing up, you kind of just mimic your parents, right? You just regurgitate what they say and think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, that was just like, Republicans bad, Democrats good. And I don't know when it happened per se, but like I just remember just being like, I really wish I could have the moment that it happened, but it was just like, well, that thing that Democrat did was kind of bullshit, and that's like not cool. And like the things that the Republican people are saying aren't bad, but this is like completely going against what I've been told my whole life. And it kind of just like, you kind of just stop and think about it for a second, and be like, hold on, how much of it is like what I've been told, and how much of it is like what I should just kind of cleanse the palate and just look at myself and see how I feel, and see what I think, and see where I am on everything, not just believe one thing because that's how it was. And maybe it extends like not to go off on a side of it, but even like with like religion, brought up Catholic, and then kind of just had like epiphany early teenage years being like kind of bullshit. And it's like once you get on that route of like questioning what you have done growing up, you kind of do that with a lot of things, which people should do. I think question your beliefs, Because it's the only way to know if you still believe in it or if it's bullshit or not. You can't just be beholden to something with new facts or new anything. Like, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to switch and change.
Mm. And just to lay the record out here, so Darian's he's neither Democrat nor Republican. He is he's a libertarian.
Close to not being libertarian anymore. Jesus Christ.
What? What happened?
Just libertarian party infighting, a bunch of drama and bullshit.
That is totally normal. The Democrats and the Republicans are infighting. So, I mean, but yeah, he voted for Joe, and Darian's got me and Darian don't agree on a lot of things, but we do agree on everything else. Like, and I just find it interesting that I could still play video games with this guy. I could still hold a conversation with this guy. I could still be, like this guy's laid up in the hospital bed. I could totally be like, man, I hope he dies. And when President Trump's brother died, they were like, wrong Trump. Or when he had the coronavirus, they're like, oh, I hope he dies. Like, come on, man. Like I understand some people are trolling, but there's a lot of seriousness and to some extent when you joke, there is a little bit of like reality in every joke. That's kind of what makes jokes funny, especially memes. But no, I was totally feeling you on the religious part. I could say when I was growing up, I had a point in my life where I just picked my religion. I picked my thing and I went with it. And my parents were Democrats, and I really didn't. I'd probably say like I didn't really pay too much attention to politics. I think the first time I did anything political was shortly after I joined the Army. I voted for Bush. I voted for Bush when I was 20. Just voted for him because I was like, oh, he's Republican. He's from Texas, so got to vote for Bush. And I will
interject real quick. What do you think of Biden asking to see if or his cabinet or his people asking to see if he could find out the political affiliations and who voted for Trump in the National Guardsmen and women, but all the people in the National Guard who are now occupying the streets of D.C.
I didn't hear about that, and that's bullshit if that's the case. Honestly, like what gives him the right to be able to do that?
I guess there's like security concerns, or they're trying to make a story of Trump's trying to have him killed or something, and whatever.
I just feel like that fuels into the whole like fire of like. I don't understand, like, do people honestly think every single person that voted for Trump is somehow on the Trump bandwagon of like pro Trump, gonna do everything he says and does, versus like what most people do, which is like they don't like the other person, so they vote the opposite, right? It's like, yes, there's people that are pro Trump. Yes, there's people that are like crazy pro Trump that are like will hinge on everything he says, but there's also people that maybe like some of his policies, maybe they don't like Biden. It's like you can't just lump everybody into one neat category on that, and it's like you're going down a really slippery slope if you start trying to find out who's voting for what, and depending on what they're in the army or what's going to be next. Like, oh, we want to see who voted for Trump that's in hospitals, because just in case if any politician goes in there, we don't want them to be sabotaging any surgeries or anything. It's like, where do you draw the line on that? It's like, it's ridiculous.
I think that's part of the point. And I mean, this is all political theater. It's fucking show. I mean, and then there's the flip side stories, which is that this is all, Biden's going to be arrested when, on the inaugural stage or whatever, the gallery. And that's why all the National Guard are there to, I don't know, some shit. And it's just all the ties into the QAnon deep state conspiracy stuff. And so, I mean, both sides are fucking nuts, man.
Yes.
And that's why I'm not either.
I
totally
agree.
agree.
I'm not either
Yeah, I
as well.
agree. I could say these past few months have been an eye opener for me. As far as like what Johnny said, totally agree. You just, there's a right to privacy within that vote.
Hmm.
It wouldn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if you're, in public office. You can vote for whoever the hell you want to, and nobody needs to know that. But I talked about it a couple weeks ago with you, Darian, about how the military, even though the military is under the executive branch, it it serves at the behest of the president and the House and the Senate. So um, that is part of the job. That's part of the territory. It's like to lump it down simply, it's like when people bitch and complain about doing a job in the army, and it's like, well, nobody made you sign up. So do the job and then get the fuck out. Or people don't want to come to work, or people don't shave, or they don't want to follow regulations. It's like, well, get the fuck out. You're getting a check. You're
Hmm.
getting three squares. You're getting health care. You're getting dental.
You agreed to the rules when you signed up.
Yeah. It's a club, and it's an exclusive
Right.
club. Like, you got to be fit. You can't be fat. You can't. You have to be mentally sound. You have to be physically. There's a lot of, it's one of the most regulatory jobs. They can discriminate because you're fat, and for a long time they could discriminate because you were gay, but they don't do that anymore. But there's a lot of discrimination with that job, and it's almost artful at the sense of we still have certain rights, but then we don't have a lot of rights. So I actually found out about 6 or 7 months ago. One of my commanders, I'm not going to name him, I'm not going to tell you which commander, but there was a guy that I work with. He went and bought these Trump masks, these little Trump face masks, and we had to wear like, we it was stupid because if you were actively doing PT in a formation, you could take your mask off, but you're fucking breathing next to everybody, so you're gonna get the fucking COVID running in formation. It makes no fucking
Hmm.
sense. But
Hmm.
then once you're done running and done physical, you have to put your mask on. So our sergeant major and our commander, not the commander I'm talking about, we put our masks on, or at least I put mine on, and I was listening to the outbrief of physical training, and then my buddy sees me and he's like, "Oh, I should put my mask on." So he puts on his Trump mask, right? And I see like the fucking laser beams aimed at him. I'm like, "Oof. Oof, not a good look, man." Like, we're in civilian clothes, mind you. So it's
Hmm.
not like he's
Hmm.
violating anything. It's just something you wouldn't do. Then we go up to another building and we're in uniform, or we're still in civilians because you have to like height and weight, and he still brought his Trump mask, and I'm like, "Dude, do you have another mask?" He's like, "Nah, man, I'll be fine." And the sergeant major pulls him aside. He's like, "Dude, you can't wear that here, man." Like, he's like, "Whether blah blah blah." He's like, your commander doesn't even feel like soldiers should have the right to vote." And I just was like, "Yo, for real? Like, you don't think that I like? Wait a minute. So I just wait a minute. I can't
Right.
vote? What
Right.
else do you think I should not be able to own my own private weapon? Do you think that
What's
what I'm
the reasoning behind that?
I don't know. I didn't ask the guy, and I quite
Yeah.
frankly I've the little bit I've dealt with the new command, I don't want to hang out up there at all. It's just like, but there are people that believe certain things about the military, and they just don't understand how it works. And look, we have the right to vote. We have the right to bear arms.
Hmm.
We have the right to free speech, just is not as long as you're in uniform and you don't make an affiliation with your branch. You're not, like, I'm so and so from the United States Navy, and I'm voting for Biden, or I'm voting for Trump. Whatever.
Well, speaking of right to vote and right to keep and bear arms, um, one of the pushes that are happening right now is a lot of gun control stuff because the Democrats control the House and
Mm-hmm.
basically control the Senate and
Mm-hmm.
the presidency, so they
Mm-hmm.
control all three. And with that, all the gun control measures are coming, and a lot of them equate to fees and things like that related to firearm ownership.
Hmm.
Um, anytime you do the background check, you got to pay, like $20 for that check.
Mm-hmm.
So if you buy a box of ammo, you got to pay $20 on top of that. Essentially, a tax for a background check is one of them. I don't remember what the HR number is. There's the just requiring everybody to have insurance.
Insurance for your
Things like,
firearm?
yep.
Hmm.
Which if something happens with it, like liability insurance, which I believe Washington State, and there's some optional stuff like that, like concealed carry insurance, and so they'll, if you're in a shooting, a justifiable shooting, they'll defend you, or they'll pay for the lawyers and stuff like that.
You basically
But
have a
what?
lawyer on retainer.
Yeah, but Washington State, I believe, outlawed that, calling it essentially murder insurance. Um, so, but there's a push for that. So all these things, like, okay, yeah, you can own a gun, but it's going to cost you, you know, several $1,000s a year per gun to keep that.
Yeah.
So how is that not different from like poll taxes, or, well, you've got to prove who the fuck you are to vote.
Hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense in politics. There really is. There's a ton.
All right, what's your take on the latest the latest impeachment?
That Trump was calling for an insurrection.
Well, just in general. I mean, my personal belief is that is just, again, just more political theater to keep us all preoccupied watching this one thing, that the right hand's doing, and so you don't see what the left hand's doing under the table.
What's to me? What's the point? What's the point of it? The dude's gonna be out of office in a couple days. Like, it's such a far reach for no reason, and like I said, it's political theater, and that's, I feel like the past year has been that. That's what it's been. Like, if you want to see how much bullshit is in politics, just look at 2020 in a nutshell.
Well, yeah, I mean, Governor Cuomo from New York.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got to keep locked down. Got to keep locked down. Okay, now Biden's taken over. Now we got to open up everything. We can no longer wait for herd immunity. We've got to open up our businesses because we can't take this economic impact anymore. That one single tweet just solidified that the whole fucking lockdown shit.
It's bullshit.
It's all political theater.
I'm sorry. Do you guys do swearing on here or anything? You try to keep it clean?
Fuck no.
Nah,
watch your fucking mouth.
Dude, it's just, I mean, you have them holding up the stimulus bill until basically Biden was going to get confirmed and stuff, so that they don't want, it's like they don't want to give Trump any win whatsoever. And like I said, the hypocrisy in politics, like, to me, politicians are just pure evil. Like, for the most part, they're just pure fucking evil. They're hypocrites. I can't even think of one off the top of my head that has like done what they said they were going to do.
The problem is, those are the people who don't want to get into politics because, in general, they don't want to be authoritarian and boss people around. They just want to do good deeds and do good work and get shit done.
Yeah, we need people to fight for that kind of stuff, so it doesn't become authoritarian.
Yeah. So, we talked a bit about your upbringing and your views. Do you feel, as far as the parties go, do you feel we need more parties? Do you feel,
yes,
a lot of people are saying, we need a different conservative party. We need and the Democrats, like, they have the radicals and they have the moderates. Do they need their own parties? Like, should we be like other countries that have like 5 to 6 political parties?
I think the two-party system is why we're in the place that we're in right now, because there's a ton of different factors, but social media is definitely one of them. But we're getting more and more extreme on our sides, and now you're getting to the point where you have half the country is upset no matter what decision is made, and you have them ruling over the other half, which is not good. And it's like, people, there's so many problems. Like, a lot of it is just the stupidity and laziness of people not wanting to look into any political issues or like take time out of their day. And I get it. People have families and they're going to work and they're busy. Last thing they want to do is sit down in front of a computer, you know, and research some stuff for the end of the night. They want to relax and chill, and I get that. But it's like, at the end of the day, you can't just go to a voting booth and go, well, I'm red or I'm blue, so pop, 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 down the line. It's like, you know, that's why like people just they're too scared and too stupid to think differently than what it is, and it gets down to the point where they go, well, I don't want this guy to win, so I have to vote blue, or I don't want this guy to win, so I have to vote red. And it's like, if people just voted independently, then you would see a change in voting structure. I consider myself like independent with everything. I'm not beholden to a party. I think the best candidate should win. You know, that should be the person you vote for, not the lesser of two evils. Like, and just that's how the voting system is. It's so beholden to the two party group that people are too scared to vote otherwise. Or you change the type of voting. Like, I know there's a thing, I don't know if it's where it is exactly, but it's a like runoff voting or something like that, where basically you vote for the person you want, right? And then you have like a secondary pick and a third pick. And if the first pick doesn't get so much percentage, then it rolls down to your second pick, right? And if that doesn't have a certain amount of percentage, then it rolls down to your third pick. So it's like, you can almost have the fail safe of, if you want to be like, well, the lesser of two evils is this one, you know, you make that your third pick, but at least you can like say, I like this independent person, I'm going to vote for them, and I don't feel like my vote's going to be wasted. But it's like, it's, I don't know, I feel like it's just the way it is, and people don't want to think differently and don't want to take the time.
So what about so the people that you entertain, you know, your Discord, your Twitch, maybe people on Twitter or other social media, like, does everybody that you associate with, you know, outside of work, you know, are they like-minded? Are you associating? Do you have anybody like, you know, maybe if you told this person that maybe you were streaming, or maybe you were in Discord, and maybe you posted a pro-Trump meme, or maybe you told somebody that, maybe you did. I'm not assuming. I'm just hypothetically, like, do you live in an echo chamber? And then the second question is, if you don't live in an echo chamber, are you around people that are open-minded enough to where, like, maybe you can joke about the fact you voted for somebody, or that the other guy sucks, or, you know, go ahead and take me through that.
Yeah. I don't feel like I live in an echo chamber, just because I don't feel like I surround myself with one view per se. I mean, we've talked about it before, where it's like, you know, I'm like economically probably more conservative, but socially probably more liberal with stuff. Like, I don't care.
You're a libertarian.
Pretty much, right? But it's like, like, I don't know. I try to just look at things in common sense, and it's like, golden rule: treat people how you want to be treated. Like, would I want that to be happen to me? No, I wouldn't want that to happen. So why would I want it to happen to somebody else? Like, I don't think you should be able to tell other people, you know, what to do with everything, especially if it's not going to hurt somebody, right? But so I don't think I tend to live in an echo chamber. I feel kind of like I don't really have other people to to talk about, because it is so like divisive with like one side or the other. I do have a buddy that's pretty like-minded, but he's gotten a little bit more radicalized over this year. The lockdowns have gotten to him, I think. But no, he's pretty open-minded with everything. But I do feel like it's hard to have even a moderate viewpoint in this time. Like, even the most moderate viewpoint is looked at as far right. And it's like it's that joke of like, you know, anyone to the right of the, you know, or if the left looks to their right, it's just like, you're to the right, no matter how far left you are, you're part of the right? And then it's like, you know, everybody else could be moderate, and the left is, or I'm sorry, the right's like, you know, there's definitely some radicalized people, but it's like, you know, just it's cool, man. Like, you can have your thoughts and ideas. That's you. Let's get a beer. It's like, they just seem to be a little bit more relaxed in their stances. I don't know.
And without
because it's all about white privilege, man.
Right.
I guess without getting too personal, like what about your family? So if you guys, you guys linked up for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something, like can you guys have some discourse and then sit down and eat food, or is it like fuck you, I'm taking my ball and going home? Like, do you?
I could, but I don't know how they would react to like my dad specifically. We've gotten into arguments before about stuff, and I'm like, this is the thing that pisses me off most about people on the left is like you immediately challenge just like one thing of theirs, and you're painted as right wing radical, and it's like then you start defending the point, but then you're like, I'm not trying to defend whatever I'm like defending. Like, I'm just trying to say that like what you're thinking is maybe not the best thing, and maybe you should look at it. I don't care about the people over here. I'm just saying what you like. Now you just feel like you're in defense of something that you're not even really trying to defend. But like, even my brother just recently, and again, they just it's their tactic of like what they do. Because my brother was saying something, I forget exactly what it was, and I was like, well, you should watch out for Biden, because he's not really the greatest candidate. He's like, oh, I smell like you're like being a Trump supporter. I'm like, okay, but what, like, I had nothing to do with that. Like, I'm just talking about, this one thing with Biden. He's like, oh, were you like QAnon now? And I'm like, again, it's just like, it just goes to this like drastic push to the right. It's like, you can't have conversations with people. It's like, how are you supposed to have a conversation with someone like that? That's just automatically going to push it that far. It's like, whatever, dude. I don't even care. Just do whatever you want. I'm going to do what I want. You do what you want. I don't care anymore. So, luckily with COVID, I wasn't able to see anybody on Christmas. So, we didn't actually get to see what happened with that.
No, I think that's exactly what happens. I think you could take any argument. We could talk about climate control, and people would be like, "Well, we need to do this," and I say, "Okay, but you do realize, when you start stating facts, since this happened, since we left the Paris Climate Accord, like we have the lowest emissions out of most of those countries there. Well, we could do more." I was like, "Okay, so you want us to kill a lot of jobs in order to save the environment, which nobody has any concrete. They just, in 12 years this is going to happen, or in this many years the average temperature will go up 1 degree Celsius, and it's like, okay, well, can I see how you got to that solution? It's like, it's science, just believe it. And it's like, well,
yeah, it's just facts.
Can I like dude, like, it's like you go to the doctor and you're gonna get treated, and it's like, we need to take out your testicle. Like, you're just gonna be like, okay, nonchalant. Okay. You're gonna be like, yeah, dude, is there another way? Like, right. Can we reason with, like, that's my ball. I only got one other. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be wrong to have a reasonable discourse. It shouldn't be wrong. But like, when you say like, well, what about China and India? And it's like, well, what are you you don't care about the environment? What about the people?
Oh, what are you, racist? It's like, yeah, wait, what? What are you talking about?
And it's like always the same thing. And usually, I don't talk about climate change, but I just try to pick like the most neutral one I could think of without getting too racy. But usually everything ends up being like, with anybody I talk to, it ends up being like anti-Trump. And it's like, look, Trump has nothing to do with this. I was like, the guy has his faults. He has his flaws. Right. Every president does. All right. Do you want me to sit here and I can list all the things this guy's done for me? But that's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to say is, blah, blah, blah. And usually the way I fall on it, I tend to be conservative. I used to say I was a Republican, but now I think I'm just going to go with I'm conservative. But I always lean towards constitutional rights. Like, because those are the things that we're supposed to be guaranteed. Like, those are our rights. You can't take them from us. And in order to take them from us, you have to have, ratification of the amendment. So, well, you got this candidate, he's a piece of shit, and you got this one, he's a piece of shit, or she's a piece of shit. Who are you going to vote for? And to me, what I've always tried to tell people is, it boils down to my constitutional rights. Like, I mean, I could vote for this third party, I really could. And maybe the
Mm-hmm.
third party, maybe the third party essentially has all my constitutional rights, and maybe one constitutional right is taken away by this party, and a lot more are taken away from this party. And then I also got to weigh it like, well, if I vote for this one, then that's one vote that could go for the. And I kind of I disagreed with you for the longest time. Like I really, when I look at multi-party systems in like the UK,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're a waste of time. I felt like they're a waste of time because each little fringe party got into that office, and they all had their own specific belief, their own specific reason they were voted in, and that own specific reason they're going to keep getting voted in, keep getting a paycheck, and keep doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're trying to vote on like a bill for how much money we're going to spend for the next quarter of the next fiscal year, and each party, let's say we got 7 of these motherfuckers wants this, I mean, just look how hard it was to get 2 parties to like fucking send out a $600 check. Now
Mm-hmm.
imagine you have like 8 parties, 5 parties to 8 parties. It's going to be that much more difficult. But
Mm-hmm.
seeing like watching like the radical Democrats, and I thought it was funny because I was like, so you guys are going to jump on the establishment Democrat bandwagon, and you think you're going to get cabinet positions, Bernie? They already fucked you once, dude. And what they do, they fucked him again, and they
Mm-hmm.
fucked AOC, and they fucked everybody else, and everybody going into Joe Biden's cabinet is basically establishment Democrat holdovers from Obama.
Right.
And so I feel like at some point those guys are going to split. And then you do have a few Republicans that aren't established Republican. They're not establishment Republicans. You look at like Rand Paul, and you look at a few of those other guys that actually they stand up and they say, look, we don't need to be spending money. We need to open the economy. This is what we need to do. Blah 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 blah. And then you look at like the Mitch McConnells, or there's quite a few out there that like I said, for the past 3 months, my eyes have been like, watching Trump pull the veil back is what I
Mm-hmm.
call it. Like if there's
Mm-hmm.
one good thing he did, it's he's shown me who the fuck Pelosi is. He's shown me
Yeah.
who Chuck Schumer is. He's shown me who a lot of these other Republicans are, because on his way out the door, you had a bunch of people stabbing in the back like he was fucking Caesar. And I'm like, yo,
Right.
for real?
Right.
Yo, okay. So I feel like there's going to have to be more parties. There's going to have to be the Democrat Party's going to have to split, where you're going to have the radicals, you're going to have the moderates, and then the Republicans are going to have to split, where there's like the conservative base, like we can call them the MAGA group, whatever you want to call them, and then we
Mm-hmm.
have like establishment Republicans. But I really feel like, because it's like voting for the lesser of two evils, and I felt that way with the Hillary Trump election. I didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
so much that way with the Trump Biden, given what I had seen. Aside from what Darian says was the banning of bump stocks and stuff like that. Okay, fine, whatever. I never used a bump stock. I never had
Right.
any intention of using a bump stock.
They're completely stupid. I would never use one, but an infringement is an infringement.
Sure,
Mhm.
I agree. But what I'm saying is, when I look at all the other stuff the guy's done, I didn't have to go overseas and get shot at. My tax, I had to pay less taxes. That's always good.
Yeah.
The military got more money. There was a lot of things the guy did. I can't sit here and I mean, the peace deals, like it just fucking, the list goes on, and he did that shit in like 4 years. And he
So what? One thing, before we go too far from what you were saying, I didn't want to interrupt you at the time, but now that the topic is slightly changed, something you said a little bit ago, and I know this is a semantic argument, but you said government or this party takes away your rights. A party can't take away your rights. Rights are inherent.
Mhm.
Rights are you know
Well, it depends who
natural
you
law.
ask, though.
Well, that's what a right is.
I agree.
I agree.
I
But
agree.
and so they can infringe on them. They can
Mhm.
infringe on your natural rights or God-given rights, or however you want to phrase it, your inherent rights, but they can't take them away. You still have that right. It's just being infringed on. I got in this debate with someone else. Oh, well, you don't have the right in wherever to have guns to or be able to defend yourself or this and that. It's like, no, you have that right. They're just infringing on it. A right is natural law. You can defend yourself, etc. And that's the problem, is that people are misinterpreting that and assuming that the Constitution grants us these rights. It's not that they grant us rights.
Right.
It's that they say, hey, these are natural rights that the government is not allowed to infringe on.
Mm-hmm. It's more of an acknowledgement than anything, right? It's
exactly.
Like, yeah.
And that's part of the problem. Like, now anything that people think everyone should have is, like healthcare. Healthcare can't be a right.
Right.
Because nobody has the right to someone else's labor. People would have the right to not be denied health care because of their race or whatever, to not be prevented from seeking health care. But they can't just walk in and say, you have to treat me because it's my right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just wanted to clarify the infringement on rights versus taking away your rights. That right is your right.
That's a solid point. And
I know it's semantics and kind of
no,
picking at little,
You're right. Every now and then, you hit me with a little reality. I appreciate that. That's why I still keep you on the payroll.
Dude, where's my check?
Sounds like there's shifty eyes. It's in the mail, bro. Hey, it's USPS, bro. Trump took away all the mailboxes. Not my fault. So let me get your perspective on Section 230, man. What do you think?
Just to let's see, Section 230, that's the where they're beholden to if they're like a publisher or give it to me again. What exactly it is?
So you have
looked at it in a while.
You have two different types of platforms. You have like an open platform,
yep,
which is where you're a forum.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, you are hosting a space where anybody can come up and say anything, and basically that allows you, as the person that owns the forum, to not be liable to be sued. So if I come up there and I say a bunch of untrue things about you, and because I say these untrue things about you, you lose your job.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sue Darian's
I can't sue Twitter.
Face. Yeah, well, you can't sue Darian's face. You could sue. You can go after me. You can try to go after me, but you can't sue him, even though he had the platform on which I said, yeah, Johnny likes to touch 14-year-olds or something. You know what I mean? Slander. Now the other one you have is you have like publisher editorial kind of thing, and that's where we're talking about like news media, is where like the New York Times or the New York Post, they're publishers. So everything that they publish, you can basically sue them for if it's untrue, if it's slanderous, if it affects you. So if the New York Post publishes the same article, and I wrote the article, but I work for the New York Times, there's obviously an editor that sees what I write and is like, yeah, go ahead, send it, bro. You eat that shit out there. And then all of a sudden you lose your job. There's no reason for you to sue me because I'm not worth anything. You go after, the multi-billion-dollar, corporation. Right. So essentially you have the big tech industry going into cahoots with the government, where the government says, look, you guys are private entities, but the internet is very important for everybody. It needs to be a place where all sides are given free speech rights, and we will make it illegal, or we won't even make it legal for people to sue you as long as you don't edit, publish things.
They get immunity.
They get immunity. Thank you.
Right. So
for what other people say.
Right.
For what other people
I
say.
think that that's fine until you start getting in and editing what is seen, what's put out there. Right? It's fine if you want to have an open platform and say, listen, we're not held liable to whatever's out there. It's Wild West. Whatever's out there's whatever's out there. Okay, that's great.
I miss the Wild West internet days.
when Twitter comes in and starts, pulling posts down or banning people for stuff, at that point, I feel like you're editing and you're choosing what's to be put out there, and at that point, you should be held liable and not get immunity for that. That's my take on it. I don't know.
So, a couple other follow-up questions. So,
sure.
If you actually put a tweet on Twitter, and then Twitter like put like a box on it and said, "We have reviewed this through independent fact checkers." And if you want to see the real scoop, click on this link. Otherwise, you
Well,
have
most
to.
of the independent fact checkers lean a certain way, but okay, sure, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but if you really want to see what Johnny had to say, you have to click this thing, and then we'll show you his tweet. Like, to you, is that publishing? Is that editing?
It's editing to a sense because you're already putting on there that whatever they're claiming is false. So you're already taking a side on it. So I understand the pitfalls that could come into the quote Wild West of stuff, especially where you talk about echo chambers of people. One thing gets put in there, all of a sudden it gets circulated and it's truth. It's not. I can see that, but it's like that, and that's fine if you want to take control of it and you want to put that stuff on there. But I feel like at that point, you are taking control over what is being posted on there. The minute you do that, you're an editor. Like you're editing, whether it be even flagging it for something, you're reviewing and editing it. So it's nice that they're allowing people to still view that content. That's cool. That's I guess maybe a happy, I wouldn't even say happy middle ground, but at least some sort of a middle ground versus just completely taking banning someone or taking their post down. But man, it's a slippery slope with stuff. It's like who now you become the police of what's true and what's not true. And we're like, people don't understand that what you think is right now and what you think is wrong right now can be changed, and what you think is right is wrong, and now you're silenced and you're banned and you have a flag on there. It's like it's a scary road to go down, I think, and I don't think people have the foresight to see how it could go really wrong. But
what bothers me the most, though, is that everybody's focused on social media, and Section 230 applies to way more than just Facebook and Twitter and the social media bullshit. It would repealing that or altering it in many ways would affect so many other things, and that's my big concern. I mean, what they should do is just say, you know what, the internet is the Wild West. Go fucking nuts. And if you make threats and stuff like that and it's reported, then you might get a knock on your door by the FBI.
Well,
but Twitter isn't liable if you say that you're going to do something illegal to a politician or something like that. Facebook isn't liable if you do something, whatever. And just fucking go Wild West. That's the way to do it.
So repealing it would, what would that change as far as with the tech companies? Would that mean that
just means now let's talk about, like, I don't know, let's say YouTube. So I guess anything on YouTube, they could just take it down because essentially you got to remember, at the end of the day, these are like private companies. They can do what they want to. Sure. And the way that I look at it is, look, if you don't want to get in bed with the government, I understand that. If you want to run your business, as capitalistic and liberal as you want to, free from all that then do it. But if you're going to take the handout from the government, then you got to follow the rules. So as people that I know, they're like, well, they're private companies. Sure, I agree with you. But if Walmart, right? If Walmart is a private company, right? They do what they want to. They say I got to wear a T-shirt and shoes to get service. Nowadays they say I got to wear a mask. So, maybe I'll just walk in with a mask and not a T-shirt and see what happens, right? Like, oh, I had to But if they go into bed with the government and the government tells Walmart like that they have to do something, and then 10 years down the road Walmart is still in agreement with the government, and then they said, yeah, well, we're just gonna take this liability from the government where you can't fucking touch us, but we're still gonna, like, no, I think something has to be done. So if they repealed Section 230, would anything happen? No. I think essentially what would happen is exactly what's happening now, is the more takedown of the views that the editors in the YouTube and the Twitter.
There would be more takedowns of everything because they could be liable for what is then now on
Correct.
any of the YouTube
Actually,
channels.
actually, you are correct. But I also feel so they would be more liable. Like Twitter would take down because you can post porn on Twitter, so they would take porn down, and then
Hmm.
I'd actually have to go to Pornhub like a reasonable adult. Um, Twitter would take.
Pornhub would probably end up getting taken down because they could get sued if somebody accesses it in an area that is not lawful for them.
What do you mean?
If Section 230 is one of those things, I mean, all of that stuff, the Communications and Decency Act was primarily about internet porn, you know, and if say a 17-year-old kid, well, 16-year-old kid in a county that bans porn
Hmm.
accesses Pornhub, then the county could sue Pornhub for allowing that access.
But wouldn't it be to the internet provider that they would have to
No,
go
because
after?
Pornhub's got the content.
Yeah,
The
but Pornhub
internet,
can't
the
control
internet,
where it's being
that doesn't
looked up.
matter because they're the provider. They're the ones hosting and providing the content. The internet, the cable or your internet provider could as well. Yes, and that's part of the problem as well. If they get rid of Section 230 and all these protections, you'll see internet providers as well start blocking off sites because they don't want to deal with the bullshit. So
Yeah, I see
suddenly,
what he's saying, but go ahead.
yeah, it needs to be looked at like just fucking go back to the Wild West days of the internet
Mhm.
and personal responsibility. If you don't want your kid looking at porn,
Be a fucking parent.
take care of yourself.
Well,
Yeah.
that's going to a whole new territory. There's a huge lack of personal responsibility in the world today, but that's a whole different topic.
Because we got big daddy government to take care of us. Come on, man.
So you personally though, Johnny,
Mhm.
like the way things are going with the Facebook and the YouTube and the Twitter, like what's your take? Do we keep 230? Do we get rid of 230? Do we just kick certain platforms out of 230? Or does the government start suing, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google for violating Section 230 and publishing things instead of letting things be as they should? Or as we read 230 to be?
I think you have to, I guess, define the line of what is a publisher and what isn't, and maybe that is in there. I don't know. Um, I think 230 being there to give immunity to those websites is fine because it's. I know it also falls into like the comment section stuff, right? So if like even I think I want to say like newspaper websites are protected by 230 in the comments section because they're not publishing what's being written there per se, and that's kind of just like free reign for whatever people say. I think that's fine. I think that's all right to give immunity to those sites in that area. And again, if someone's saying, listen, you put whatever you want on there, we're not going to be held liable for it. If you say some shit that's illegal, you're going to get potentially prosecuted, but it's like that's not going to be on us, and like we do whatever. But the minute that a company like Twitter says, we're removing these things and we're a public company, but like also and again, this last year is a perfect capsule of like what's going on. It's like you're allowing certain things to be published on there and you're removing certain things that isn't. So in that case, you're a publisher and you should be held liable to it. So I don't think Section 230 is bad to have there, but you need to be, I guess, more stringent as far as who's being held accountable to it. I don't know.
So here's to add to that. What do you think of Twitter's Trump ban and Facebook and whatnot?
Well, it's it's stupid. I think it's them waving their "we support" Biden flag essentially. I mean, I don't think Trump has done anything illegal to get him to be banned or anything on that platform. I don't think it should have happened, but It's just it's them, it's people, it's jumping on the bandwagon, right? They see the vehicle that's coming in, and they say, you know what, we're good guys, hey, don't hate us, we're cool. I feel like that's what they're doing.
Jake and I talked about this last week. I think last week, might have been 2 weeks ago. I don't know. When everything went down, my sense of time is kind of fuzzy at the moment, but I kind of want to amend. I've been thinking about it. I really think this would have been a lot better 4 years if Twitter banned him 4 years ago, because a lot of the bullshit has come from him spouting off on Twitter.
Yep.
And
it wouldn't
take an offense.
But you gotta know is like if you're smart, you gotta let the enemy hang himself. You could see him fucking up and be like, you know what, I can use this to my advantage. And
right.
I'm not saying the president is perfect by any means, but had that guy, given his account to like a staffer to tweet things that were acceptable and toned down a little bit, like, maybe they wouldn't have had to defraud all the poor dead people. Maybe the dead people wanted to vote for Trump, maybe the people voting in Pennsylvania that were actually from New York wouldn't have voted. You know what I mean? Because, he probably wouldn't have said something that would have fueled the fires of Democrats to like unite. I mean, the guy has done a lot of brilliant things, but he's also sunk his own ship. And I'm, I don't want to say a staunch supporter. First of all, he's my boss for the next 3 days, but
are we that close?
Yeah. We are that close.
Oh, thank God.
It's not going to change. It's actually going. Dude, like, something you understand, right? Is like all these media companies. The way I see it, if you're MSNBC or you're CNN or you're Fox or you're whoever, like, Trump's out of the fucking picture. What are they going to report on?
Kamala Harris's Chucks, man.
Like, but nobody is.
Kamala Harris's Chucks. Dude, that's what the latest like CNN thing was the thing about her shoes.
Dude, that's fine, but that's not going to get viewers. Like the left, it's like the last 4 years. You have the Democrats and you have all the not classical liberals. You have like neoliberals have just hated this man because apparently he's a racist. Apparently he's a sexist. Apparently he's all these things that Joe Biden isn't, because Joe Biden is a racist and Joe Biden is a sex. It's amazing, right? They could both be that, but only one picture is painted.
And Kamala's a cop who withheld evidence and
I know, but that's not important.
Kept people in prison because it was cheap labor.
None of those stories will sell. That's the funny part. None of those stories will sell like President Trump tweeting something inflammatory or inciting, and I'm rolling my eyes because I'm being sarcastic.
Or anything. So like the thing is, no matter what he does, they will find the negative thing in that. He could save a bus full of kids, and they'll say that he created a traffic jam on 95. It's like whatever he does, he's behind the 8 ball no matter what. Didn't give the guy a chance from the start. Not saying he's great, but like
what I did say? I said watch. I told a close person in my inner circle. I said, you fucking watch this, and this was before. This was right about when they were going to impeach him the first time, right? I said, dude, no matter what this guy fucking does, like, these people are riding his balls. I said, this guy's gonna fucking cure cancer, and none of y'all would fucking care. And through this legislation, through Operation Warp Speed, basically he cured cancer. He didn't really cure it, but I mean, semantics, right? The guy got a vaccine ahead of everybody, under budget. It's there. It's been distributed to the states via, federalism. Hey, give it to who you need to give it to, and he didn't even get a W for the fucking vaccine. He didn't get a W for the vaccine. And I know people that don't like Trump that are in the medical field and are like, what this guy did was amazing. And I know other people that know nothing about fucking medicine, nothing about, the Food and Drug Administration, nothing about any of that. And they still hate the guy, and well, the vaccine could. I was like, dude, I took so many vaccines. I took anthrax. I took all the hepatitis. I took fucking flu vaccines for the past 17 fucking years. I've taken so many goddamn vaccines. I was like, sometimes you fucking eat shit or you fucking do shit and you find out you're allergic to it. But like the guy, I'm not saying he needs a Nobel Peace, but like, can we at least admit that he did something? No, And like I said, it's funny as I hit up that conversation. I said, didn't I tell you this guy would basically cure cancer, and you guys would still not give him the W? And, oh, he didn't cure cancer. I was like, no, he did not cure cancer. But I said
Right.
he could do something like cure cancer, and you would still hate him. Do you still hate him? Silence. So, but yes, and with that being said, I want to tangent to one of the final topics that we were going to pick your brain on is the COVID stuff, because this is when you were talking to me in the chat and you said like the most brilliant fucking thing. I haven't heard any political pundits say it. I haven't heard Darian say it. Just repeat the dialogue between me and you and what you said. You don't remember?
No, what? Give me a vague.
You were talking about how the narrative was flipped from basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember now.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's because it's true. It's because it's like the most genius thing that they did with COVID, right? Is that like look at the mask thing where it's like you would wear masks to protect yourself from getting the disease and whatnot. It's like they flip the whole thing on. It's not about you taking the risk and protecting yourself. It's that you can't go out and you have to save lives by basically protecting everyone else. So it's like it was genius. It really started out with being like, gotta protect yourself, wear mask, and it's like, well, masks don't work. Oh fuck. And then now it's like, well, you have to wear masks, but it's not because you're protecting you, it's because you're protecting the other person. So it's like it's really, it was a smart play on their part, I would say, to do that, because now everyone's like, well, I can't go out because I have to protect the other person. It's like life is about taking risk and going out and hey, I'm a 35 relatively healthy person. I probably will be okay even if I get coronavirus. I should be able to take the risk and go out and work my job and do what I need to do. If you're elderly and in poor health, maybe you should not take that risk and you should stay home. But now it's like, hey, you can't go out because if you go out, you're gonna infect the poor Rose that's trying to get her, I don't know, her groceries at the grocery store. Like it's insane. It's a very smart play on their part.
Well, we kind of opened with this in that this whole past year with coronavirus and the response has been political theater.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly now we've got the people, all the lockdown people saying it's time to reopen because we can't let the economy be destroyed any further by Trump's horrible policies and kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to state for the record, fuck Andrew Cuomo.
Hashtag not
and
my
his
governor.
brother actually, but
Hashtag not my reporter.
It's all theater. When this all kind of started, you knew it was going to be dragged out. Now they're saying it's going to be around just like the common cold, which the common cold is a coronavirus.
Ta-da!
This is just a strain.
I've gotten COVID. All right, I had COVID back in October. I'm fine now. Like I was, laid up for about a week.
You're supposed to die.
I know.
But you could get it again, Johnny, and then you could die.
It frustrates me because I don't know when people got to be such pussies with everything. Honestly, like it's
I blame the metrosexual movement in the early 2000s. I blame Axe body wash.
I completely understand. Back in March of last year, we had no idea what was going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Could have been really bad. Could have killed a lot of people. All right, you want to do a 2-week lockdown? Try to help hospitals out? Because that's what it was for. It was supposed to help clear hospitals, not to protect everybody. It's supposed to help hospitals.
Flatten the curve. That's what it was. Flatten the curve. Like we knew the curve was always going to be there. We had to just stretch it out. That's what we had to do, right? That was the goalpost.
Yep. So, okay. I'm down with that too. I'm not an asshole. I'm willing to help save lives. That's the thing. That's fine. 2 weeks, not a big deal. We are now 8-9 months past this, and like,
We are rapidly approaching a full year
yeah.
to flatten the curve.
And I just don't know how people can. And this is what I'm talking about. It's like you just take time and just look online on stuff. Like you just look at, like I was looking at all during the summer. I was looking at statistics, and I'm like, okay, like I understand like people died, but this isn't that bad. Like, and you're telling me it's okay to go protest right now, but you can't go to work. It's okay to do this one thing, but you can't do this. And it's like, it's so easy to just see. Maybe I say it's so easy to just see what is going on, but it's like people just. And I think this is the difference between Republican and Democrat. Is Democrats will hide behind helping people and doing the quote unquote right thing by, pushing through evil things. So you're like, well, we're doing this thing because it's going to help save lives. And it's like Republicans are like, we want people to make their own choices, so this is what we're going to be letting them do. And all this was this past year was just, we got to help people save lives. Got to save lives. Got to save lives. Well, okay. Why don't you look at like a place like California that had full lockdowns for a really, really, really long time. A place like Texas or Florida, and it's like not much difference, if anything. It's like, what do the lockdowns actually do? And you're gonna there, and Biden's talking about more lockdowns, and it's just like, do people not look at anything? Do the people just do people really at this day and age just look at a TV screen and say, okay, thank you for the information? I don't know, like,
yes,
I just,
that's exactly what they do. And most people I know don't even watch the TV because they don't have cable, because cable's so goddamn expensive. Mm-hmm. Most of them, they saw an article from The Verge or Vox,
yep.
or they saw something on Facebook, or they were on Twitter, and it's the first thing they fucking read that they agreed with. Because sometimes they'll see an article.
Hold on a second. They saw the headline of an article. They didn't read a full fucking article. They just looked at the headline of it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what you're saying is all the people that want to live their life, take their own chances, take their own risks, because that's exactly what I said to this person that said I have to protect someone else. And I said, look, Walmart will ship groceries to them, or they can drive in the parking lot, pop open the trunk, or sit there while they put groceries in the bed of their truck. Mm-hmm. I was like, why can't I fucking go to Walmart and do what why should I? Or even better yet, like, why can't I fucking go to the local liquor store? The one that's got the lower price on the cheap bottles of whiskey. Why are they closed, but the big ones are open? Or why can't I make my own decision to go worship what God I choose to believe?
Why can't you buy fucking seeds to grow tomatoes and other food at Walmart?
I don't know.
Because it was deemed non-essential. Dude,
but that's the whole point. Is the whole point of like Americanism, when I tried to explain to this gentleman, was, for one, we come from a long lineage of descendants of dissidents. Mm-hmm. Fuck you France, fuck you England, fuck you Spain, fuck you Portugal, fuck you Dutch, right? And then later on, when the civil rights movement, or not the civil rights, the Civil War happened, then it was like slaves basically, getting their rights and being dissident to, their slave owners. And then later on, when you had the civil rights movement, it was like, the black community actually getting their rights and being like, fuck you to the establishment. So like, we come from a long line of people that don't necessarily follow rules blindly. And at some point, we are at a point where, and I'm not going to label parties, I'm not going to label, beliefs, but we have a lot of people in America that will blindly follow what the fucking government tells them to. And they won't question it. We have people where, well, oh, well, you know, I'm an essential worker. And it's like, well, what makes you an essential worker? Well, this
Mm-hmm.
is what I do. Well, why isn't that guy's job essential? Well, because he doesn't do what I do. But I was like, he still has to make money. He still
Mm-hmm.
has to pay his light bill. He still has to pay
Right.
for his rent or his mortgage or the lease on the building he's renting. I was like, so, you know, that's the whole adventure of capitalism in America is trying to make it. You know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Like, you take a gamble. You fucking go out and you take a loan to do something with your business. And it may work, it may not work. But
Mm-hmm.
imagine the government being like, no, you can't take out loans or you can't do this with your business. You know, like that's exactly what's going on now. You can't, well, wait a minute. What if I ran my business? And that's funny that you bring up California. I'm a restaurant and everything has to be outdoor dining. So I'm going to set up everything like the government says that I have to have it. The state government says that. And then they shut me fucking down because they're like, there's too many COVID cases. But then a filming company opens up a dining banquet
Right next door.
next door, exactly like me, and is allowed to fucking operate. Why are people questioning that shit? Like, why are people just sheeping? Can we get the little sheep thing again, Darian? You had it posted earlier. Can I please? But they are blindly following. Dude, you come from, whether you're white, black, Asian, Latino, Indian, fucking whatever the fuck you are, purple, man. You come from a long line of dissidents, descendants of dissidents, whether you want to admit it or not. If you think about it, from the Revolutionary War to the Civil War to civil rights, you know, to us fighting Nazis, to us fighting the Germans, to us fighting any war, minus the Vietnam War, personal opinion, you know, but there's a long line of fucking wars we have fought. There's a lot of interior conflict we've had because we don't agree with what the policy is. And at this point in time, it baffles me for people to give up their constitutional rights, to give up their God given, their nature given, their whatever given rights without any fucking question and just hand it over to the government or the fact checkers or the big techs and whoever.
It's because people have it too easy. They have it too easy. Life is too easy right now. They hadn't had a struggle to go through to know like what actually fighting for something is. They've been told
Too
what to
used
do
to
their whole
suckling
lives.
off the government teat.
Yeah, they've been told to do their whole lives, so they're just doing exactly what they've done, and it's like, it's sad. It's really fucking sad.
Can I ask you this? When you were growing up as a kid,
Uh-huh.
you know, if your mom or your dad told you not to do something, did you ever ask why?
Yeah.
I'm not, maybe not all the time, but sometimes like maybe you're like, okay, I won't talk to strangers, but then maybe they're like, don't touch the stove, and you're like, well, why don't I touch the stove? You know, like you said at the beginning of this this podcast, it's like you should question things. You should question at some point. You should question like, is the God that I'm like devoting my time and my money to, do I really believe in that?
Mm-hmm.
Is the political party that I've been told to vote for, what are they doing anything for me? Because I think at the end of the day, if we all look at it selfishly, does the political party I vote for do anything for me? And if they don't, then why are you voting for them? Like,
Listen, you could have the exact same beliefs as politically with someone or you know, like a party, and say I agree 100% with that. That's fine if that's what you believe in. But it's like when you see something fucked up and you're like, I don't really like that. That's not great. But guess what? Vote blue again. It's like what, like you don't have to just go with the flow, you know. And the thing is, I think there's now more than ever people are more politically involved, I would say, than they've ever been. But there's still people out there that's like, I really feel like you should almost have to take a test to vote. Like, you know, it's like if you don't know what you're talking about or what you're gonna be voting on, then maybe you shouldn't have you know, a way to vote.
Unfortunately, I will disagree with you because
I know.
I think it's a fun.
I'm being half joking there. It's like,
but yeah,
I think they should have a test to take to have a kid too. You know, it's like some people just.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. There's a lot of repercussions for that.
No. No, I understand. Everyone should have a right to vote. I get that.
Any dumbass can go out and knock up some broad these days and crank out a kid.
Welfare state, here I come. And guess what, Derry? We gonna have another. And we ain't done yet, bro. We going to the tall, the wall goes dry. You know what I mean? Like, so. Oh man. Anything else you wanted to ask this gentleman, Darren, before we let him go?
Nope.
No. Did you want to have a final word before we got him the asshole question? Do you have asshole pulled up, by the way?
But then he should get the final word.
Oh, okay. All right.
As our guest.
Okay.
Asshole is basically just a random series of questions that are designed to kind of prompt thought and whatnot. And I pulled one up. Oh, and anybody who's interested, go to asshole.io. You can buy the cards there or click on and do the online version.
I'm interested. Let's do this.
So the question: have you ever had what you consider to be a spiritual experience? If so, what was it like and what effects did it have on you?
Not that I can think of. I've never. I think part of the reason why I'm
that's a lame then. That's a lame answer. Give me a number 1 to 10.
I mean, I can't think of one that I would have been like, oh my god, I had such a spiritual experience. That's I kind of think.
What about an enlightening, like not necessarily spiritual? Maybe like you woke up one day and you realized you're a piece of shit and you need to get your shit together or something of that. Not saying that's what happened, but like it doesn't.
It's every day of my life, Jake. Okay, that's it. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think. There's nothing that the only thing I would say is like it's like the anti-spiritual experience is like I remember my grandmother was dying of cancer, my nana, and I was like I grew up Catholic. I actually legitimately like pulled out rosary beads, which I've never ever done in my entire life, and like was praying that she would get through it and everything. She didn't, and that was like kind of like my epiphany of just like maybe this is not all it's cracked up to be. And I started questioning more and more about it, and it's like, if people don't get what they are praying for, then they go, well, God has a plan. God has a way. It's like that's just an excuse. You're just like, it's like you're praying for the same prayer thing. Now it's like, there's still something else. It's like, I don't know. It's a kind of the
pray
anti-spiritual. Pray harder.
just like you got to vote harder.
Yeah.
Vote harder next time.
So maybe not the best card in there to ask me. I'm not a spiritual person by any means. So, I don't know. Sorry.
Solid answer. I'll accept it. Full credit awarded, sir. And being the guest, you get the final word. Meaning, like you could summarize anything we talked about, you talked about. Maybe you pitch an idea. You have a platform to say whatever you want. You could say Jesus is Lord if you want, or you could say taxation.
Just don't get us banned.
I'm not gonna get you banned. I just think people need to be more forgiving with their fellow American. You can't write people off just because they have one thing that they don't agree with you on. And like, especially if it's someone that you like a family member, a friend. Like I've legitimately had friends that have cut ties with me, and I'm like, I'm not even a right-wing person at all. Like I feel like I'm very in the middle of like logically thinking on both sides. But the moment you stop trying to talk to the other person and figure out why someone thinks the way they are thinking, you're giving up on trying to understand maybe a different point of view that you haven't seen or don't know of, and maybe you might agree with after learning about it. Or, you might do the same for them and explaining your side and why, you think that maybe their point of view is wrong. But you have to be able to talk to each other. and I think we're drastically going in a really bad direction of not doing. So I think everyone just needs to relax a little bit, gather their thoughts, do your research, and talk to each other.
Well said.
Solid.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you.
But for the record, you're supposed to say at the very end of the final thought, taxation is theft.
Where's my
Taxation is theft. There you go.
Every week,
you can edit that together. It's
fucking fine. Week. Always overstepping his bounds. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your thought and your insight. It's definitely fun. All 16 of our viewers, including yourself.
We're gonna have a lot of fun with your green screen and green shirt.
Yeah, I know. Really I totally just realized when I unzipped my
I saw that you had a green shirt on when you had your gray hoodie. I'm like, does he normally wear a green shirt? Because
I usually avoid it when I stream because of this whole situation. Head. But it's like I wasn't even thinking because I wasn't going to be streaming tonight, so I was like, whatever. Totally forgot.
So if you're watching the stream and you like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, you like really good gameplay because this guy's pretty fucking good. He wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough to carry me to a dub because I'm pretty fucking heavy. He's still pretty good though, and I think he was playing Baba Is You the other day. So
I was. Yeah.
Go ahead and visit him. He's on the Twitch, Gianni_Bagodonuts. The link will be in the description. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. Maybe one day when we're more popular, we'll actually pay you to come on and
Sweet.
We'll pay for your time. But if you haven't already, go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe. Leave a fucking comment. God damn it, leave comments, man. There are people watching this, but they just don't leave no comments. So it is.
I don't want to hear what my mom has to say, dude.
But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, Darian's gonna join us. So
I should be here. I'm fairly certain I'll be needing yet another surgery.
Oh my god!
I don't know when that's gonna be, but
oof. But if you pray for this guy. If you don't pray, then buy like a.
Then sacrifice a goat.
Yeah,
for this guy.
As I say, buy some kind of cattle and just throw it on an altar or some shit. But we appreciate all 5 of our viewers. I think we were up from what was it 2? You said 2, 3? What was that last week, Darian?
It's almost doubling your viewership.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Fucking raising the roof, but. With that being
Huge
said,
game.
We do it for you, our our new viewers. See, we do this for you. We live for you, our 5 viewers.
One of these days we'll go live, and we actually might go live on the Twitch just to like see if we can piss off like some neoliberals. That would be great. That'd probably be like the beginning and end of like whatever channel we created. Like, oh
man, do it both. You go live and then you just throw it up on the YouTube after. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. That was the game plan. We'll probably get there someday, but. Once again, thank you for stopping by. Thank you anybody for watching, listening to the VOD. And with that being said, I'm Jake.
Drake.
And this is the Jake and Drake Show. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week.